guys, that seems to be the mood mantra that the Prime Minister is now looking when it comes to his departure. The pictures that already came in from Japan after a very successful 2-day visit to Japan that is now concluded. Now his next leg of destination that would mark in China. This is one of the biggest and most important, and a lot of significance has now been attached to his visit to China, of course, being the first one post the Galwan clashes, and a crucial one that also comes amid the tariff war that has been underscored by the United States of America. Remember, as far as the steep tariffs are concerned, the moment that they were imposed, it was China that actually called out the United States and its bullying tactics. But when we speak of the greatest leaders of the Asian countries coming together under one roof, that would also amount to the world's foremost leaders of the global south. Now, this continuous and comprehensive coverage that we are covering, not just from the ground here in Delhi as far as what New Delhi thinks, but also now what Beijing thinks, is something that my colleague Swati Joshi has been covering from the ground there in Tianjin. Well, Swati, ni hao. As we speak of the upcoming visit of the Prime Minister, he has already departed for China.
Absolutely, Amita. Ni hao and namaste. Like you said, the Prime Minister has departed from Japan, and he is expected to land here at around 6:40 Chinese time in Tianjin, which would be around 4 p.m. in India. The Prime Minister called his visit to Japan a productive one. He said that it has yielded several significant outcomes. And here in Tianjin, the Prime Minister has come to China after 7 years. Now, there are a lot of contentious issues as well between India and China. If there were two words to describe the relationship between both the countries, I'd say it's cooperation and confrontation at the same time. And we've seen both cooperation and confrontation as well. But like our External Affairs Minister said, it's time to move ahead now. Yes, there have been challenging times, but we have to look ahead, we have to move forward. And strengthening India-China bilateral relationship, cooperation between the two countries will not just bring stability in Asia, but like many are saying, it might actually make changes as far as the global world order is concerned. Now, I'm reporting from the media center. I just want our viewers to have a very quick glimpse of how it is here on ground reporting for the SCO summit. Behind me you can see this massive workforce. This in fact is a workforce of foreign media personnel who have come from all over the world to report on SCO. That talks volumes about the significance of this summit, and like many have said, this could in fact become one of the most successful editions of SCO, because it is also happening at a time when the issue of tariff is something that is being talked about a lot. It's a mutual concern. Like you said, China has openly taken a stand in favor of India and has condemned, called the 50% tariff on India unacceptable. There you can see huge screens have been placed so that the media personnel who are working here get information and update about everything that's happening. There's actually a press conference which is currently underway, and everything around me is inspired by technology. Everything around me is inspired by AI. Multiple measures, facilities to ensure that it's a smooth reporting process for the foreign journalists. Let me in fact take you over there. There's a very unique aspect that I want our viewers to take a look at. Efforts have been put in, I have to say that. Efforts have been put in to ensure that people who are coming in from various parts of the world feel at home and do not face the most common issue that one does when you come to China, which is of language barrier. There are a lot of machines that have been deployed at public places, and they can, if you give them commands in English, Russian or Chinese, then they respond back in those very languages. Now, here is a desk where you see all the volunteers sitting who will help you with any information that you're seeking about the summit, and will ensure that your reportage, your coverage is smooth. There's one more thing. Along with the volunteers is a humanoid robot that has been placed here. And this is the unique thing that I was talking about. You can actually interact with her. This robot speaks English, Chinese and Russian. And you can ask any question in English, Chinese or Russian about the SCO summit to the robot, and the robot is going to respond to that. Let's in fact try this out. Let me try and interact with her. Ni hao.
Ni hao.
Can you say Namaste India?
Namaste, India.
Can you help our viewers a little bit in terms of what SCO is all about? What is the significance of SCO?
The Shanghai Cooperation Organization promotes regional stability, economic cooperation, and cultural exchange among member states. It focuses on mutual trust.
So that is what I was talking about, Amita. Every step of the way, because there's also a science and technology exhibition that is going on at the same time. So a lot is happening. This place is buzzing with energy. A lot in terms of technological advancements taking place. There's one more thing that I want you to see. In case one is tired of reporting and wants to have a sip of water, this machine is roaming around this entire area, serving you water. That is a technological advancement I'm talking about here. But yes, of course, the main focus is going to be on the bilateral talks tomorrow. Bilateral talks between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Chinese President Xi Jinping. Like I said, there are contentious issues as well. But the Trump tariff episode has actually acted like a catalyst in bringing both the nations together, because we have mutual concerns. Remember what the Foreign Affairs Minister said when the Chinese Foreign Minister visited India? He said there are three key things that India and China should be looking forward to: mutual respect, mutual interest, and mutual concerns. And one more thing which is very important, because SCO, remember, was founded to counter three challenges. Those three challenges were terrorism, extremism, and separatism that continue to pose a big challenge not just to India, but to the entire world. So India definitely would want the member states to come together and issue a strong statement on that.
Well, of course, as far as when it comes to the catalyst that America seems to be playing, there seems that Donald Trump can actually take a certain credit for actually bringing India and China together. As Swati continues to be with us, we also talk about why America, and also when it comes to the nations that comprise of the European Union, would be closely monitoring when it comes to this situation where the three global leaders of the global south would be coming together under one roof. What does it mean, especially when we speak of global trade? Coming together in the year 2020, they have their share of 17.5% of the global trade. When we speak of the GDPs coming together, the GDP share in world economy, they amount to nearly 23.16%. And of course, when it comes to the numbers, the population suggests, where as far as here, there is no guesses as far as India and China is concerned, and other countries that amount to global south, nearly 35% of the world representation, the population that would be seen when it comes to the leaders who would be coming together under one roof. Let's also talk about Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who will be having this bilateral meeting with the host country chief, that is President Xi Jinping, on the sidelines of the SCO summit during his visit. This also comes at a time just a month before External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar was in China to meet the Chinese president, and this was the first high-level meeting that underscored when it comes to improving of ties or resetting of ties since the 2020 Galwan clashes. So why is it significant, and what has now been attributed when it comes to the Prime Minister himself now visiting China? The significance that is now been attached, of course, when it comes to the Prime Minister's visit to China is right after the Galwan clashes. We have seen series of diplomatic and military level talks that has been happening to improve the situation steadily, amounting to a de-escalation and military ties, where we are looking at a certain improvement there. But we also talk about certain significance that is also being attached to the Prime Minister's visit. Professor Brahma Chellaney is also connected with us. Good afternoon to you, sir. But quick update coming back from Swati on this. This attendance also signals, Swati, when it comes to strategic economy and, of course, when it comes to India's presence there.
Absolutely. And Amita, such events are always organized well before in time. They are organized not just because of what's happening around us, but it becomes significant because of what's transpiring in terms of the global world order. And it's not like India is the only country in this relationship, this bilateral relationship, that is trying to have a good equation with China. China is also putting in equal efforts. The resumption of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, India resumed issuance of visa, China eased curbs or restrictions on rare earth magnet supply. So it speaks volumes about the efforts that are being put in by both sides. Yes, like you said, Donald Trump's tariff tyranny has played a role in once again forcing these two nations to rethink in terms of strengthening their cooperation. And look at the complex strategy and the tight diplomatic rope that India has to do when it has to balance its relationship with Japan and at the same time strengthen its relationship with China. So that is something that has to be talked about when you talk about the global world order. India is looking for multilateral engagements at this point of time. It is diversifying its strategy. So not bowing down to pressure coming in from US, but rather standing up to it and strengthening the equations and relationships that have already been existing for a long time.
All right, Swati, thank you very much for joining us here on the broadcast. This is a continuous coverage as Times Now is there in Tianjin to get you the updates. Soon we are expecting the Prime Minister to land in China. Well, Professor Chellaney, as we speak of the Prime Minister's upcoming visit to China, of course, that's going to begin in a few hours from now. Are you viewing this as a global realignment? You know, China and India, are they awakening not just as rivals, but as architects of a more balanced multipolar world?
There are tectonic shifts in global power that are occurring, and clearly the US-dominated international order is eroding. But what will emerge in place of the US-led order is still difficult to visualize, but what we are seeing is movement towards multipolarity. It's very clear that with the rise of new powers, the world is becoming more multipolar. Though Western dominance still holds in key areas, including, for example, the global financial architecture is very much dominated by the Western countries. But in the coming years, there could be significant shifts in the global economic and geopolitical landscape. But I think coming to Modi, he's going from Japan, which is a natural ally of India, and in Tokyo, Modi's meetings with discussions with Japan's PM, Ishiba, sought to build on shared interests and shared priorities to deepen an already flourishing economic and strategic partnership. Now, in stark contrast, when Modi meets with Xi Jinping in Tianjin, the discussions will revolve around managing disputes and narrowing differences. So you can see the sharp contrast between his discussions in Tokyo and his upcoming discussions with Xi Jinping in Tianjin. The Sino-Indian relationship is a difficult relationship, and it's been marked by rivalry and mistrust for decades, ever since China imposed itself as India's neighbor by annexing Tibet in 1951. But when Modi became Prime Minister in 2014, he made it his mission to change that. He wanted to bring about a fundamental change in Sino-Indian relations. Now what we are seeing is Modi's Reset 3.0. He attempted one reset in 2014 when he invited and hosted Xi Jinping as the first major foreign leader in India. And then Reset 2.0 came after Doklam, when first there was a India-China standoff on the Doklam Plateau, and then after this engagement by the two sides, China very quietly captured the entire Doklam. Despite that, Modi persisted with seeking rapprochement with China. But Reset 2.0 ended with the encroachments in Eastern Ladakh of 2020. So what we are seeing is now Reset 3.0. It began in October when Modi and Xi Jinping met on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in Kazan, Russia. And the visit to Tianjin is an attempt to follow up on the meeting that the two leaders had in Tianjin. We'll have to wait and see whether, unlike the previous two efforts at resetting Sino-Indian relations, whether the latest Reset 3.0 bears fruit and helps to stabilize the India-China equation.
Yes, but because Professor Chellaney, as you mentioned, that the mistrust has been going on for several decades now, the question that many would be asking is, what direction would India-China ties take? But there is also a harder question that we should be asking, do we even know China well enough to have that answer? I request you to stay on with us as far as when it comes to expert point of view are also concerned. What is to be expected here? Does it mean that this is an emerging troika when it comes to taking on the Western powers coming together of India, Russia and China? Well, we'll be taking that question after a very short break. Modi, who is en route to Tianjin in China, he has now stressed on the need for India and China to work together amid global economic volatility. Now, in an interview to a Japanese daily, he said that ties with China are stable, amicable and ready to advance. Well, Professor Chellaney, what is your point of view here when we speak of the emerging troika? Are we witnessing not just a regional change when we speak of global south, but is there also a broader geopolitical realignment?
There is a global geopolitical realignment. What we are seeing is that autocracies are coming together. Increasingly, they are even trying to establish parallel technological ecosystems. They are working in tandem on geopolitics. You've seen how Russia, thanks to US policy, has been forced to move closer to China. And in the next 4 or 5 days, we will have two major meetings in China, both symbolizing how autocracies are actually working closer together. First is the SCO summit. Except for India, the other 9 member states of the SCO are autocracies. And then immediately after the SCO summit in Tianjin, China will be holding a massive military parade on Wednesday to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. And guess what? The guest list includes
Putin.
All the prominent strongmen of the world. All the top autocrats of the world will be there. From North Korea's Kim Jong-un, and Myanmar's junta chief, to the presidents of Vietnam, Russia, Belarus, Cuba. So the long list of autocrats who will be in attendance at this massive military parade in Beijing raises the question whether the world could split geopolitically and economically. That is, will, in the years to come, will there be parallel economic and geopolitical blocs in the world, just the way it happened in the 1930s? One of the reasons why World War II happened was that trade shifted from multilateral levels to trade within geopolitical blocs. So today we are living in fraught times, but you mentioned about the troika. I guess you meant the Japan, China, India troika.
I meant China, Russia and India troika.
Sorry?
China, India and Russia.
Or China, India, Russia troika. Now that's a triangle with a lot of potential, because these are 3 real giants in size, in terms of their capabilities. If they can come together, that will change international relations fundamentally. Of course, the Japan, China, India troika will also have a fundamental impact on international relations, because in the Japan, China, India triangle, Japan and India together, economically and militarily, are greater than China. So Japan-India strategic and economic collaboration would help to balance power in Asia. But Russia, China, India is a more demanding troika because there has been what is known by the abbreviation RIC,
Yes.
R for Russia, I for India, and C for China. Now that RIC has been in motion for years now.
But would it be formidable enough, you know, when it comes to seeing the Western powers in their eye as far as when it comes to the troika that we've been speaking of, because the Kremlin has also said that later in the year, by December, President Putin is also expected to visit India. Professor Chellaney, appreciate you joining us here on the broadcast. Of course, as far as your experience and your knowledge is concerned, knows no bound. But when we speak of the current situation, this is where we look of improvement and resetting of ties between India and China. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us here on the broadcast.